Hey guys, it's Vicky here. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing a full recap of Season 10 of The Walking Dead. Since Season 11, aka the final season of the show, is set to air on August 22nd, I thought it would be nice to give those of us who have watched it a bit of a refresher in case you don't have time to rewatch all 22 episodes. Before we dive into the recap, I must give a major spoiler warning since this is a recap of the season. There will be spoilers for the entire season, so if you have not watched Season 10 yet, I strongly advise you do so. Alright, with all that said, let's get straight into it. Season 10 starts around 8 to 10 months after the fall of the kingdom in Season 9. Throughout these months, all four communities, Alexandria, Hilltop, People from the Kingdom, and Oceanside, have been working together and training their militia. And while they're training at Oceanside, little Judith finds a Whisperer mask in the sand. The discovery of the mask brings Aaron to radio back to Alexandria to let them know, and basically puts the communities into lockdown. And Michonne brings a group to scout for any possible Whisper activity. While Alexandria is put into high alert, Siddiq is trying to overcome his PTSD, and a new member of the community, Dante, who is also a doctor, does his best to help him. Meanwhile, Carol at one point decided to go and become a fisherman, mainly to escape the reality of what happened to Henry. She comes back to visit and was planning to go out again until Daryl tells her that they found one of their masks. Her and Daryl go on a small hunting trip, but it's cut short due to a satellite that falls from space, and it causes a massive forest fire, and in order to extinguish it, the group has to cross Alpha's borders, otherwise they would lose Oceanside. It takes all night to put out the fire, and when it's out, Carol and Daryl make their way to the edge of the quarry where Daryl was shown Alpha's massive herd of walkers, and Daryl asks Carol to stay. However, when he leaves her alone, Carol sees Alpha walking out of the woods, and they stare each other down. All at the same time before the satellite falls, the Whisperers seem to be coming out of hibernation. At least, that's what it looked like, and Beta is trying to gather more walkers for their horde. He brings along Frances, the mother of the baby that the Whisperers left behind at Hilltop, and her sister Mary, as told by Alpha. In the middle of gathering walkers, Frances starts to miss her son and basically goes crazy, and costs the horde some walkers, and Beta is pretty pissed off, but Alpha lets it go after punishing her. Unfortunately, Frances acts up again and nearly kills Alpha by jumping on her in the middle of a herd of walkers they were originally leading. Mary then takes it upon herself to save Alpha by throwing her own sister to the walkers and leading Alpha to safety. This act of heroism earns Mary the title of Gamma. Jumping back to Alexandria, there seems to be waves of walkers ambushing the community for nearly 2 days straight. And of course, the residents think it's the Whisperers attacking them, especially when Gamma comes to deliver a message to meet Alpha at the border. The Alexandrians have a heated discussion about what to do, triggering Siddiq's PTSD, and in the end, they all decide to meet up with Alpha and see what she wants. At the meetup, Alpha warns them that she knows they crossed her border 3 times, and tells them that she wants more of their land to pay for that. Hearing this, Carol acts up, and Alpha just sees this as an opportunity to provoke her even more, and so Carol ends up trying to shoot Alpha. Alpha condescendingly forgives Carol, and the two groups go on their way. While on their way back, Carol tells Michonne and Daryl that she saw 3 Whisperers, and they try to find a place to hole up for the night, just in case. When Carol is on watch, she continuously has hallucinations from lack of sleep and overdosing on caffeine pills, and eventually ends up getting herself hurt. Daryl and Michonne bring her back to Alexandria to get patched up. Over at the Hilltop, a tree falls and breaks a part of the walls of the community, and the people at Hilltop believe this is the work of the Whisperers. Michonne takes the initiative to go help Hilltop with repairs, and afterwards, her, Judith, and Luke head out to Oceanside. Back at Alexandria, Lydia has been getting severely bullied by Gage from Hilltop and Margot and Alfred of the Highwaymen, and because of that, she gradually gets closer to Negan. Lydia tries to retaliate, but unfortunately, this ends up only provoking them and they lure her out at night and attack her. Negan saves Lydia from the bullies, but accidentally kills Margot in the process, which causes a large debate on what the community should do with Negan. The vote on whether to kill Negan is very close, and with Gabriel as the last remaining vote, he decides to sleep on it and come to a decision in the morning. However, he isn't able to since when he goes to check on Negan the next morning, his cell is empty because Carol had let him out to help her kill Alpha. Aaron goes out to look for Negan, but then he spots Gamma contaminating a river near Alexandria. But he doesn't seem to notice what she's doing and tries to get intel on her and the Whisperers. Gamma goes back and reports this to Alpha, and Alpha basically has the same idea to use Aaron to gather intel on his group. Focusing back on Negan, he set out on his plan to invade the Whisperers and he gets caught up with Beta. Negan is hanging out with the Whisperers, trying to become part of their group, but Beta doesn't seem to be having any of it and eventually attempts to kill Negan, while Daryl and Carol are out looking for him. Instead of finding Negan though, the two find Alpha's horde in a field and Carol tells Daryl her true plan of trying to find Alpha's horde and destroy it. Being loyal, Daryl stays by her side as they stake out the horde until nighttime, which is when they plan to strike. That is until Carol decided to take matters into her own hands and captured a Whisperer. Meanwhile at Hilltop, Eugene, who had tagged along with Michonne and Judith, had fixed up the radio system and came into contact with a mysterious woman from another community, and she later reveals herself to be named Stephanie. Carol and Daryl take the Whisperer back to Alexandria and begin interrogating him, but nothing works. According to Lydia, the ones who lead the herd are loyal. However, the Whisperer lets it slip that Alpha told them all that she had killed Lydia, and that gives Carol a plan to reveal Alpha's lies. Unfortunately, before Carol can try to show the Whisperer that Lydia is alive and well, the Whisperer dies because Dante had given him hemlock, to which he thought was yarrow, and never thought the hemlock would even be in the bag because Siddiq was the one who packed it. This sends Siddiq into a downward spiral because he feels like he's been losing his mind, and it gets worse when one of his patients, Cheryl, dies from the stomach bug that's been going around. He confides in Rosita and he's finally able to realize that someone had tampered with the community's water, and that's what had caused everyone to get sick. After fixing the mess with the water, Siddiq keeps to himself in his room until Dante comes to try and console him. That is, until Dante begins to click his teeth, and that triggers Siddiq's memory, letting him figure out that Dante was the Whisperer who held him down when the Whisperers killed his friends right in front of him. Unfortunately, Dante gets the upper hand and kills Siddiq, only to be found by Rosita. She knocks Dante out and has to put down Siddiq, who'd already turned. That same night, Aaron had met up with Gamma and they're found by Carol and Lydia, and so Gamma breaks down when she finds out that Alpha lied and Gamma had killed her own sister for nothing. Lydia then runs off after hitting Carol since she also figured out that Carol only used her to get back at Alpha. After Gamma had the night to think, she goes back to find Aaron and tells him about how the baby that was left at Hilltop was her nephew and that she wants to see him. Aaron makes a deal with her that she might be able to see him if she tells him where the horde is, and he goes back to Alexandria to let them know the location. However, that is when he finds out that Siddiq was killed and that Dante was the Whisperer who killed him. After much reluctance, Daryl takes a group along with some people from Hilltop to check out the place Gamma told Aaron about, and also to try to find Lydia. When they get there, they all see that it's empty, so Daryl leads the search for Lydia. However, Carol has other plans when she sees Alpha in the woods and blindly chases after her, causing herself and the others to all fall in a cave, where Alpha keeps her horde of walkers. Meanwhile, Michonne and her group get to Oceanside after a detour to a library. She finds out from a radio relay that Siddiq was killed and that Dante, who was killed by Gabriel after Daryl had left, was a Whisperer. She warns the women at Oceanside that there may be Whisperers invading, and then their security is triggered when a man named Virgil stumbles in. He ends up making a deal with Michonne that if she brings him home, he can give her some weapons to defeat the Whisperers. As Alpha succeeded in luring Daryl and his group into the cave, she begins to believe that there is a traitor since they knew exactly where to look for the Horde, and so Negan gives her advice on how to find the mole. Of course, Daryl and his group are trying to get out of the cave, all the while trying to control Carol, but Carol being Carol, she tries to destroy the Horde with dynamite that was left behind. This leads to her accidentally blowing up the cave and trapping Magna and Connie inside. Daryl is pretty pissed at this point and goes to take it out on Alpha. He finds her and a rather bloody fight ensues. At the end of their fight, Lydia finds both Alpha and Daryl lying on the ground, and she ends up choosing to save Daryl instead of Alpha, who actually wanted Lydia to kill her. Knowing that Lydia chose Daryl sparks a new rage in Alpha, and she declares war on the group. All at the same time, Gamma had gone to Alexandria to let them know that Daryl and their group were trapped in a cave, but for obvious reasons, Rosita doesn't trust her, and Gamma gets imprisoned. That night, Beta, horror movie style, literally crawls into Alexandria using the grave Dante had dug before he died, and invades the community. He kills a bunch of Alexandrians and takes Gamma from her jail cell so that Alpha can kill her, but before Beta can bring her back to Alpha, Gabriel shoots at Beta, forcing him to flee and leave Gamma behind. A group of Alexandrians bring Gamma to the hilltop so she can potentially see her nephew. Shortly after, Daryl and Lydia return back to Hilltop, but before Kelly can try to convince them to go out to look for their people, Lydia warns them all about Alpha coming. Rosita goes up to where Eugene had set up the radio and accidentally contacts Stephanie, who had made Eugene promise not to tell anyone about the communication. Rosita leads him to it, and eventually the two go together to set up an electricity trap for Alpha's horde. After discussing what they should all do, Daryl tries to escort the kids out of the hilltop for safety, only to be blocked off in a very familiar way, and that is when he figures out that Negan is now with the Whisperers. Eugene makes one last attempt to win Stephanie back just before the hilltop gets attacked by the Whisperers, and she ends up giving him a location and time to meet. The battle ensues, and the Whisperers end up setting the hilltop on fire. In the middle of the battle, Magna emerges from the Horde and reunites with Yumiko. Hilltop burns, and after the battle, Negan finds Lydia in the woods while herding walkers for Alpha. He captures her and locks her up in a cabin. He proceeds to find Alpha and tell her that he found Lydia, only to lead Alpha to an empty cabin and kill her. He ends up beheading her and brings her head to Carol as she had requested from the beginning. At this point in time, Michonne finally makes it to the island that Virgil claims has the weapons she needs, but it turns out he was lying. Virgil drugs her, but Michonne escapes and lets out the people that Virgil had trapped, but she stops any of them from killing him. She later goes with Virgil, after he seemed to learn his lesson, to scour the island just in case there were any weapons that she can bring back home. Instead of weapons though, she finds a very familiar pair of boots and eventually a phone that seems to have Michonne and Judith's sketches on it. Having hope, Michonne radios back to Judith and tells her the news, and Judith tells Michonne to go find him, lying to her that they have already defeated the Whisperers. And Michonne makes her final decision to go find Rick. Our group gets separated as they flee Hilltop, and Gamma is with Kelly, Adam, and Alden, who has been pretty harsh towards Gamma. She ends up sacrificing herself when they get surrounded by walkers, and she leads the group away so that Adam can remain safe. Unfortunately, she gets caught by Beta and he kills her. Meanwhile, some others make it to the rendezvous, and Eugene tells the others about his meeting with Stephanie, and so he, Ezekiel, and Yumiko set off to go find this mysterious woman and her people. And eventually, they meet the lovely princess, and they decide to bring her with them on their journey. They eventually make it to where Eugene is supposed to meet Stephanie, but they get surrounded by stormtroopers. Beta finds Alpha's head on a pike, and he basically has a breakdown, and he finds his new calling as the Alpha Beta. Negan comes back to the cabin he had put Lydia in, only to find Daryl, and Negan tries to explain himself that it was part of the plan and that he killed Alpha. To prove himself, Negan brings Daryl back to the pike where Carol had put Alpha's head, but since Beta already took it, Negan doesn't have any proof, until a group of Whisperers come and start calling Negan their new Alpha because he killed her. And Negan being Negan, he basks in the glory for a few minutes and makes Daryl kneel before him. And then he shoots the Whisperers, saving Daryl's life. Alpha Beta brings the horde of walkers to Alexandria and they trample the place. Fortunately for our group, they had already relocated to the veterinary hospital nearby. Only Aaron and Alden were left to relay what's going on with the herd. However, a stray cat leads the herd right towards the hospital, and our group is greeted with a sea of walkers and Whisperers. Our group uses the blood and guts trick, trying to redirect the horde of walkers, but some of the Whisperers make it into the building. Gabriel stays back so that the others can get out safely, and he's about to meet his end, but Maggie comes back just in time and saves his life. As our group tries to blend in with the walkers, unfortunately Beatrice from Oceanside gets caught up with a Whisperer and is killed by walkers. The others who made it out safely proceed with their plan and begin blasting music so that the walkers will follow them, as Luke put it, Pied Piper style. Of course, the Whisperers know exactly what they're doing and begin their attack and eventually destroy the speaker wagon. As a last resort, Daryl comes up with a plan to hunt the Whisperers within the horde of walkers, and he kills Alpha Beta, saving Negan in the process while Carol and Lydia lead the horde off the cliff. After the horde is gone, the others go back to rebuild Alexandria while Daryl and Kelly go help Maggie bring back her people. Unfortunately, our group cannot catch a break because there is a brand new group of enemies called the Reapers, and it seems that Maggie and her group have quite a history with them. The one Reaper that was tracking down Maggie gets caught by Daryl and Maggie, and he tells them that someone named Pope had marked her. But before they can ask him anything else, he blows himself up. Maggie brings her group and little Herschel back to Alexandria safely. And for the rest of the season, we have Gabriel, Aaron, Carol, and Daryl going out to look for food or any supplies they can get their hands on. And that's where we are now. I really hope I didn't miss anything vital to the storyline. I apologize if I did. There was just a lot to pack into just one video, so I try not to dive too deep into the details. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you would like to see more of my videos in the future, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to catch the first episode of the final season of The Walking Dead airing August 22nd, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!